Hey, this is Brian. I'm back again for Instapod number 2. Ooh. And I found some appropriate glasses since we're going to go all the way back to the Wrecking Crew and explain the current name of the project I'm on right now called the Wrecking Crew. You're thinking, is that a fake band? No, it's not. It is an homage to music history, thus um, the opportunity today to talk about that a little bit. For those aren't familiar with music history, and we can do other Instapods about it, there's been a lot of changes over the years. Originally, Sun Record days, there would be a microphone in a room, artists would come in, play his guitar, sing, put it to vinyl, send it out to record labels and radio stations. And in essence, that's how an artist came to be, a hit single on the radio, right? And then as time has progressed, recording has changed. Eventually, in the 60s, a lot of artists and bands would literally go into the music recording studio as a group and perform with a few microphones. You had a lot of bleed over of instruments and sounds, but that's the way they did it. Eventually, they developed different types of recording techniques, including multi-track recordings, 18-track, 24-track, 36, 48, I don't know, they're probably up to 60, who knows how many, and that was during the analog days. So you could separate voices, sounds, do overdubs on different channels, and you could, in a sense, perfect the sound. Some would say overproduce, but either way, there's a rawness to the early music production versus the latter, but that's the way it was done. In the 60s and 70s, what became a thing was artists, mainly record labels and songwriters, because a lot of artists that performed did not write their own music, did not even perform it in a sense that it was their song written by them, played by them. They would hire musicians. There was a group of musicians known as the Wrecking Crew. That was a nickname. It was meant to be a pejorative. It was meant to be a put down. They were the best musicians in Hollywood, and they were hired to come in and lay down the music for hit songs for record labels. And then that hit song would be perfected by them. They were the best classical and jazz musicians of the city. And the Wrecking Crew is called the Wrecking Crew because on one side of the coin, some people thought they were ruining the music industry because they were classically trained jazz musicians as well, and they were compromising playing that primitive rock and roll music. They made a lot of money. There were jokes that some of them said, we make more than the president. And the reality is they were in high demand. And so many of the hit songs that you know and love from the 60s and 70s, the Wrecking Crew actually did it for artists that you would know, for the Mamas and Papas, for the Beach Boys, for the Righteous Brothers, for Barry McGuire, for the Byrds, and many other artists that we could go down the list for. But because I'm trying to keep this short, we're not going to do that. Anyway, so the Wrecking Crew. And then on the other side of the coin, there were others thinking, well, they're ruining the music business because the actual artist that is performing the song and putting the image on the album cover is not the one who's doing the music. Now, that has taken different forms throughout music history all the way to today. That's why I use the term the Wrecking Crew. Some people think it's a great idea. I think from a record label standpoint, it probably is. Others didn't. So much so that by the early to mid 70s, artists actually had clauses in their record contracts that demanded that they play their own instruments on their own records. That's how prevalent it was. I believe 140 top 100 songs were actually recorded by the Wrecking Crew. Over 40 number one hits of that decade or so was done by the Wrecking Crew. And yet most people don't even know or don't even know their names. And so here we are, another pivot in music history. And we now have, through technology, AI technology, through AI software, all the things available, that so much more can be done with music now than ever before. Production, songwriting, instrumentation, everything. Like many other pivots in music history, this is considered a wrecking crew, a time that's going to destroy the music business, in some people's opinion. Other people think, well, this is a really efficient, effective way of doing it. Others might just see it as a tool that's helpful. There's still artists that hire studio musicians to come in for certain songs or albums. That still happens, but it's very rare. It's not as common as it used to be. There are so many of our favorite performers that don't actually write their own music, don't even play their own music. They actually have someone else do it, and then they learn how to perform it and play it, just like back in the 60s and 70s with the Wrecking Crew. They laid it down. The artist had to learn how to sing it the way they sang it, and they learned how to play it. And what was common, a bunch of back musicians followed the artists out on their tours. They made it sound good, even if the front guys maybe were a little bit sloppy or couldn't play. That still happens today. If you notice, you'll see artists, a four-piece band out there, but they got 8 guys in the shadows playing. That's what's happening. It's just part of the music business. It's part of life. It's part of how it goes. That's why I call the project I'm working on and the songs I am the Wrecking Crew. I realize some people will be critical and say it's terrible, it's ruining the music business. I get that perspective. There are people who think Sun Records is still the way to record, and I do like music done that way in a very lo-fi, simple way. And I do like the live sound of the early 60s, but there's some things I do like from what's happened. Now, some people might say as we've progressed, we've become overproduced and over dependent on technology and software and different things. Nowadays, you can write your songs on a computer. You don't even have to go to a recording studio. And that's a thing. And it's not going to go away. And so I figure the Wrecking Crew, let's just embrace it. The criticism and the compliment and the blessing of it. In the end, the song speaks for itself. If it's a good song, people will love it, will like it, will share it, will keep listening to it. And if it's a terrible song, no matter how it got to your ears, you're not going to listen to it again. You may never listen to it. That's the pivot. So here we are, the Wrecking Crew, another moment in music history where the world is collapsing and it's either going to destroy the music business or make it better. That's for you to decide. Thank you for listening. I appreciate it. Wrecking Crew's on Spotify and Apple Music and all your music streaming providers. I do like to hear your opinions and what songs you like, which ones you don't, and even your opinion on the subject of technology and music. Love you very much. I cut down my Instapod to, it looks like, just under 8 minutes. So I'm going to stop. That's a big improvement from 12. We're getting there. We're almost at 3 or 4, right? Love you guys. Take care. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.